Hey folks, we're back with a new episode of Three Men and an Anime. This is Peter Bowman, and as always, I'm joined by my good friends and co-hosts, Eric Carlson and Gav Leaf. How are you guys doing tonight? So, Tuesday.
Oh, the usual.
Yeah.
Tuesday, okay, got it.
Life, much like war, never changes.
So we're talking about a very not political series tonight.
Not at all. Hey kids, you know Gundam? That not all political show
About giant
with child soldiers
and
and
cool
giant robots.
They're cool robots.
You know what it needs? Vietnam.
The only thing that's missing from making this a full-on Vietnam War movie is literally just a classic rock soundtrack.
Yeah.
There is not nearly enough Creedence Clearwater Revival in this series. Like, there are at least two scenes where I swear to God I half expected to hear Born in the Bayou playing.
Mm-hmm. Hell, the entire closing sequence with the commander writing his journal and everyone else goofing off around him. That is straight out of a fucking Nam movie.
Yes,
Yeah, it's straight out of fucking Platoon. Yeah.
Oh my God, the end credits. Yeah, that. Oh. Gee.
So settle down for this one, kids.
Honestly, it's also bizarrely less depressing than the one about child soldiers in Africa. Oh wait.
Not Africa, Mars. Entirely different.
Right? What am I thinking? That is totally not about Africa at all. Nope, not at all.
No, it's Mars. It's very different.
Gundam
not even the same planet, Peter. Come on.
Right. Gundam has never ever had anything to say at all about politics. Nope, never.
It's just like Star Trek. It's never been political until the last couple of years.
Yeah, exactly.
No, yeah, original Gundam had no political themes at all. No.
Nope. Except, the fall of Russia. But whatever.
Thank you for the raid, Tachi. You got just in time to hear us talking about how not political 8th MS team is.
Yeah.
And Gundam as a whole.
I mean, to be fair, it doesn't come... It's not nailing any particular political party to the wall here.
Oh, no. It's nailing all political parties to the wall.
Yes. It's almost as though it was saying, guess what? The people in charge will put you through a meat grinder and don't particularly care about you. On both sides.
War is a giant pile of crap. It sucks for everyone.
But even if you have a giant robot, it seems.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
just
sorry,
to give
Eric.
some kind of
sorry to burst your bubble there.
Just to give some framing to this, if you're all familiar with the Gundam universe, this is part of the ever-growing, ever-encompassing Universal Century, the prime timeline of the Gundam verse. Yep. And supposedly, from what I understand, it's taking place roughly about the same time as the original Mobile Suit Gundam.
I think so. Yes.
It just happens to be self-contained on our war zone on Earth.
Yep.
During the Federation Zeon War.
Yep.
The 1 year's war.
Yes. Yeah,
it doesn't ever leave the Southeast Theater. So, it when we call it when we say it's Gundam but Vietnam, it's literally taking place in what is probably Vietnam.
Yeah.
Yeah, they always just refer to it as Southeast Asia, but they never specify, but it's kind of clear. Although they do manage to somehow find the jungle, the desert, and the fucking frozen tundra.
Well,
it was a glacier up on a mountain, and honestly, after the colony drop, you're gonna find a lot of weird biomes right next to each other.
Yeah, I was about to say, after the colony drop, Earth's climate is a little fuck-sword, shall we say?
Oh dear!
It turns out when you massively change climate patterns, weird shit happens. But yeah, so this was Eric's most recent series selection. Came out in '95, I believe.
Yep, came out in '95. I wanted something classic. I wanted something giant robots, and I hadn't seen 8th MS Team in a while, so I was like, let's do 8th MS Team.
Okay.
I really liked it. So
it is one of the more grounded
Mhm.
Gundam shows. You don't get as many, no big flashy effects as such. No super. Well, I say no super weapons. It's kind of the plot revolves around one. But what I mean is like no hyper beam bazookas and bullshit, whatever particle cannons and apart from the big one. But not everyone's equipped with.
Yeah, every time energy weapons get involved, everyone sort of goes, "Oh fuck, it's an energy weapon."
yeah, everyone goes,
Yeah.
"Holy shit, a beam rifle! Who the fuck carries a beam rifle?"
Yeah, they're still using hard ammo slugs for the most part, unless they get a special edition of a beam weapon. There's still things like that are still special. Not everyone's carrying a fucking city leveling arsenal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and it takes place almost entirely on Earth. The opening scene takes place in space, where we first meet two of our characters, Ensign
Three of them.
Shiro.
Actually, 4 total in space in that scene, in the opening sequence.
Mm-hmm.
Oh right, I forgot about I should have opened
Sanders.
the wiki. I can't remember her name.
Yeah, Aina.
Aina.
Thank you.
We meet Shiro, Aina, Mickey, and the
Mikhail.
sergeant.
Sanders.
Is Sanders on
Oh yeah,
Yep.
in space?
he's the one that Shiro
Oh
saves.
right. He's the one that they pull his ass out. Right.
After his entire squad is wiped out,
Yep. Because he's the Grim Reaper.
apparently.
Yeah.
Well, he ends up with a squad that doesn't die around him.
That's true. So yeah, we have Ensign Shiro, and Michael or Mikhail, or I've heard it pronounced like 3 different times in the same series. We're just gonna call him Mickey.
Yeah, it's spelled Michelle, Michel, but Michael, whatever.
We're just gonna call him Mickey.
Yeah.
Because he is kind of a Mickey Mouse. And they're taking a transport from someplace down to Earth when shit happens. They see some what looks like a firefight up in high orbit, and it's like they start getting the distress signal from a mobile suit in distress. So the captain of the transport's like, "Listen, I don't have any guns. We don't have any way to engage them. Let's just hope they don't come over here." And she was like, "But that's one of our dudes. We can't help them. You've got a construction unit with guns on it, don't you? If you want to take it, be my guest."
It's a ball with a 108mm cannon on the top. That's about it.
It's literally like a sphere of thrusters, some manipulator arms, and some cannons on top.
That'll do. That can
Yeah.
totally go toe to toe with the Zaku, right?
Yep, it absolutely can. Not a problem at all. That's exactly what happens. That's actually exactly what happens.
To be fair, it does demonstrate our protag Shiro's ability, because it's not just a case of he doesn't just dive straight in and takes it head on. He sneaks in, he drifts in, he uses cover. He literally grabs hold of a piece of debris and floats in with it. He's clever enough, but it's still a fucking. It's
and that
the
the Zaku he's fighting is being distracted by the mostly intact GM that she's currently engaging, which is the GM is the previously mentioned Sanders, who has just had his squad wiped out by this one Zaku and is missing an arm and a leg, literally. The suit is not him himself. He's still happy in the cockpit, as happy as you can be.
Yeah.
And out of ammo, so he takes the opportunity to limp back to the transport at Shiro's insistence, because what's he gonna do? Throw harsh language at her?
I mean, he does, but
Yeah.
But yeah,
Oh,
Shiro ends up taking Aina on one-on-one. He manages to get lucky and gets the manipulators in and with the tow cable and ties her up and basically they end up with a stalemate. He can't really hurt the Zaku. The Zaku can't get free.
Yeah.
So they both end up opening their cockpits, intending to fight, and end up getting stranded on a wrecked
wrecked cruiser of some sort.
wrecked
The whole
cruiser,
fight
yeah.
was taking place in a debris field.
Yeah. And it's here we start to get an idea of Shiro and the sort of. It's like he's been so fucking gung ho up to this point about getting into the war and fighting the good fight and fighting the Xeon and all the rest of it. And now he's finally face to face with the Xeon soldier, and he's like, "I need to save your life." It's like, oh god, he's one of those.
Well, to be fair, it's a case of we could kill each other, in which case they would almost certainly die also because we have no resources, or we can work together and hope someone picks us up.
Yeah, literally, his decision is actually if we work together, implicitly one of us surviving, and possibly both. If we don't work together, we both die.
Yeah.
It is actually a smart decision.
Yeah. And Ina sees this too. She's like, "All right, fine, we'll work together." And over the course of them, like, figuring out, like, finding a spot with air so they don't, like, run their suits out of air, figuring out how to jury rig a flare using some old ship munitions and whatnot. They get to know each other and start kind of falling for each other, because, well, high stress situation, both attractive individuals of the appropriate gender for their preferences. You know how that goes.
And they're also both fairly likable people. Let's be real. Like, they just happen to be on opposite sides of the war, and you know, both are willing to admit that the people on the other side are actually people.
Yes, and they can be good people on the other side. That's a theme of Gundam, is that there are good people on both sides, and generally it's the leadership that are jerkwads.
Yes, there are good people and bad both. There are good and bad people on both sides.
Yep.
Yeah, and that is definitely one of the things that is definitely a thing in this series, in this episode, this particular series, actually.
Yes, you see a lot of that in this particular series,
yes.
with assholes on both sides and good people on both sides.
Yep.
So yeah, they set up the flare. Sanders gets rearmed and refueled in his limping little mech and heads out to pick them up. Ina gets picked up by the escort that she got separated from during the whole fight, which is another pair of Zaku's. And everyone gets to land back on Earth where they're supposed to be with their respective forces.
Yeah, the only thing mentioned there is the one thing that they do mention is that Ina is actually a Xeon test pilot. So
yes.
She was actually out there testing an experimental Zaku at the time, which is now gone boom.
Which has gotten itself dead. Yes.
Yeah, and the only other thing that happens, and again, it's one of those really minor things to mention, but it does come up while they're in there. They're like, okay, we'll meet back here in 10 minutes. And Shiro. Not Shiro, sorry.
Shiro.
Shiro checks his watch. He's like, "Oh shit, it's busted." So Ina gives him her very fucking ornate pocket watch. This is in no way important whatsoever. The watch plays no purpose or is not a MacGuffin in any way.
Yeah, she doesn't manage to recover the watch from him before they're forced to separate and go their own way.
Yep.
But yeah, like I say, without running the risk of hitting every single episode.
Yeah. So Shiro, Sanders, and Mickey end up touching down where they're assigned to, which is in the Southeast
Asia somewhere. Totally
Southeast
not Vietnam.
Asia somewhere.
Totally not
Almost
Vietnam.
certainly Vietnam. It's hot. It's muggy. It's in the jungle. They get assigned to their unit, and they meet the rest of their unit, which is Elidor, who drives the support truck, who also has excellent ears and is their intelligence officer, such as it is. And
the best character in the show.
Whose name I also can't remember.
Karen,
yes.
Master Chief
Karen, who is a stone cold bastard. Well, she's a bastard too.
Yeah.
She is stone cold awesome. She is just pure Valkyrie bitch all the way. She's great.
She is one of the she is both a hardcore badass, tough as nails, all that stuff. She's also one of the more likable people in the unit.
Yeah.
Yes.
She's not full on like angry badass sergeant major. She has that side of her, but you can very much tell there's also a character underneath.
Yeah.
There is a weird vulnerability in how tough she is.
Well, she's a classic chief petty officer, in all honesty.
Yeah.
She's come up through the ranks. She knows how to get shit done, and she knows part of her job is looking after the young officers to make sure that they don't screw the unit over, because all they've had is they don't have experience yet. They have to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the academy.
She's a sergeant.
Yeah. So we've got Karen, we've got Karen in the unit. We've got Sanders in the unit, who's the gruff big guy that every unit needs to have. He's a bit fatalistic, partially because he's watched his team get shot out from under him 3 times and has developed a reputation for being a bit of a Grim Reaper as a result.
Yeah, everyone thinks he's jinxed. Well, everyone outside the 8th MS team.
But he's ridiculously loyal to the team because A, they don't buy that shit, and B, Shiro did save his ass in space.
Yep.
So he's now just very loyal and considers them very much like his people.
Yep.
Mickey, who's a git.
Yeah, he's the one who ends up being the gunner and actual driver of the truck, I believe.
Yeah.
Whereas Elidor runs the comm systems.
Yeah, he's basically Elidor's assistant. Whereas Elidor is technically in charge on the truck, he spends most of his time at the actual, the information desk, while Mickey does a lot of the mechanical work. He's not a git as such, but he's very young, very naive.
He is fresh out of the academy.
Yeah,
he's fresh out of the academy. He's got, just like every other kid that just came out top of his class, thinks he knows a lot more than he does.
Yeah. He thinks he knows exactly what he's getting into and doesn't have a fucking clue.
And spends a lot of his time writing letters to his girl back home.
BB.
BB. Oh, and Elidor, who is really just sick to shit with all of this stuff, and really just wants to get on with his music career. But no, he's stuck in the military.
He really badly wants out. He hasn't gotten quite to the level of,
He hasn't quite gotten
to MASH levels, let's put it that way.
MASH levels, there we go, yeah.
He's not about ready. He's not about to pull a Corporal Klinger, let's just put it that way.
Yeah, he's not wearing a dress or shooting himself in the foot or anything like that, but he's not exactly happy with the situation.
Oh, he is, yeah. About the only thing that's keeping him at all sane is, honestly, flirting pointlessly with Karen.
Yeah.
He knows it's going to go nowhere.
And to be perfectly fair, I get the impression that Karen very much appreciates it, but is never, ever going to admit that she does.
Right.
Yeah, she reciprocates his advances by whipping wrenches at his head.
Which, as we all know in anime code, means please do me now.
Well, there's a few moments later on, if it wasn't for the fact that he'd probably die if she did.
But yeah, she's the other one important note I want to mention is we occasionally look up who the voice actor whose voices the character sometimes, and very early on we all were sort of going, oh my god, Karen's voice is super familiar. Who the hell is it? I went and looked that up. It's the woman who played Balalaika in Black Lagoon.
This show, to be honest, I mean, obviously now we're 77 episodes in. We're gonna start hitting some familiar faces.
Oh yeah,
but this one is filled with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was the one that stood out the most because her voice is very distinctive.
There's a lot of people in this show that have had very long careers.
Yes.
And they're still active now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but other characters of note is we already mentioned Ina, who turns out her big brother is running the Xeon research base in the area.
He's a super genius scientist. And
he's a super genius scientist,
and is totally not a sociopathic asshole.
It is totally a sociopathic asshole. It is very much like part of the whole Zeon like aristocracy kind of thing.
Yeah, he is riding the trope train hard. He's like, yeah, so he's a super genius. His life's work is this one weapon that has been developing. He's physically frail because of an illness. Uses his sister as his test pilot.
Because he's too frail to do full test piloting.
He's part of the aristocracy, but secretly hates them, and doesn't like any of the generals and the others.
One other member of the Zeon command structure we meet is the admiral. Who clearly, despite who we see later on, is actually a very competent commander and cares a great deal about his men. Loves pushing disguise buttons.
Yep.
They do not like each other one bit.
No, not at all.
And honestly, his one big character flaw is he's a little too flirty with Aina when it's very clear she does not reciprocate.
Yeah.
And again, part of that is just pushing
her brother's buttons.
Yes. Rear Admiral Kalern, his name.
Kalern, that's it. Yes.
He's basically responsible for the European war zone.
Yep.
From the Zeon side of things.
And we also meet the guerrilla fighters that are basically makes the jungle a no man's land for both sides. Led not technically, but in actuality by a teenage girl named Kiki, who was awesome.
Well, it's her dad that's the leader of the guerrillas. Hang on a second, Barresto Rosita. Yeah. He's the one in charge, but he's an older gentleman.
Kiki is in charge. Let's be.
He's also confined to a wheelchair.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, he's confined to a wheelchair. He's got his goons and his lieutenants around him. Kiki basically says what happens.
She's the field commander.
Yeah.
And it's very clear that he's going to he knows he's planning on turning things over to her eventually. That's his plan.
Yeah.
But yeah, we also meet the CO of the units that all the MS teams that are operating in this particular theater, and he's an archetypical sort of not that bad Vietnam commander who's
yeah.
It's like, yep, I've been here way too long. It's hot, it sucks, but God, I hate the air conditioning more than I hate the heat. So I'm just going to sit outside in this tent and just make sure I'm properly hydrated all the time. And yes, I know it makes people have to report to me uncomfortable. They'll have to deal with it. I'm sorry.
I believe that is Kojima.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he's in charge of the whole.
He seems like basically he's abrasive and annoying, and like nobody likes him. His job's not to be liked, though.
Yeah, he's very much like every police chief, put upon police chief, commanding officer, middle management guy, and every piece of media you've seen from the mid 60s to the late 90s.
Yeah, pretty much. Oh yeah.
Gruff, put upon, really fed up with everybody's shit, including his own.
Yep.
Well, it's like you say, it's mostly because he's the middleman between the guys on the ground,
right,
and the utter fucking knob jockey that we find
and the
out.
Brass, right?
Yeah.
You don't need to call them knob jockeys. They're the brass, which means they are automatically knob jockeys.
Oh dear.
Oh my God. So yeah, from this point on, basically it's the 8th MS team learning to trust, learning to see whether they can work together, and whether they learning to trust each other. Meeting the guerrilla fighters, discovering the secret of what Zeon's up to, and then trying to stop them, and then shit goes wrong.
As it does.
As is wont to do.
Yeah. So the long story short, so yeah, they stumble across the guerrilla fighters early on.
Shiro manages to
Get
just
captured.
befriend, get captured and somehow befriend them during all of this. Mainly because Kiki is just amused by his idiocy.
And again, he's a stand-up guy.
He's a stand-up guy, not unattractive. Kiki develops a bit of a crush on him, which is not reciprocated, and she's largely from probably because A, he's a stand-up guy and she's young, and B, because I don't think he gets it. I think he's completely oblivious, and we've all been there. So...
He's an anime protag. He doesn't see that kind of thing.
No, he does, because he's very clearly aware that Aina likes him.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, the one that shouldn't, but yeah, does. Yeah.
It's the thing is, he's already involved in his Romeo and Juliet tragic romance.
Yeah, he just doesn't have eyes for anyone else is the problem.
Yeah.
So I've just looked it up. At the very least, Kiki is 17. So not as bad as they make out. They make it sound like she's a lot younger the way they talk about her, but no, she's 17.
Well, she is, as far as the soldiers are concerned, a kid.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which, knowing soldiers wouldn't necessarily stop them. Knowing soldiers occasionally wouldn't necessarily stop them. But
yeah. And to be fair, like, Mickey and Shiro are probably both around 18 or 19. They can't be that old. Yeah. I mean, Mickey's straight out of the academy.
Yeah, Mickey's Shiro's
23.
Yep.
And Mickey is 18, so yeah, about the same age.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
The only reason I bring it up is because they talk about her quite young, and also the first scene we see her is she's butt naked, so you know.
Yeah, well,
it's anime in the 90s. Of course,
anime in the 90s. You got to have a nude scene somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To be fair, you don't get anybody over the age of 30 until you get into the brass. So,
Sanders must be over 30.
Nope, 29.
Really?
Sanders
he's drawn like he's fucking 45.
Sanders is 29. Karen is 26.
Sanders is drawn like he's 45 years old.
I'd have pegged Karen a bit older than that, but yeah.
Yeah, I would have put Karen about 30. I would have put Sanders about 45.
And Eldor 24.
That makes sense.
That sounds exactly right.
Yeah. But yeah, he managed to befriend them, and they do help out in
in a variety of ways.
Yeah.
It does eventually blow up in their faces.
Unfortunately, yes.
Unfortunately. Mostly, it's actually when it does blow up in their faces, there's a Zeon patrol that wanders in. They have been separated from the rest of their unit. Their mobile suits are trashed, and the CO of the Zeon patrol is doing everything she can to be nice to these people and just get some food and some water so they can find their way back home.
That would have worked had it not been for the complete asshole that was one of her men.
In an absolutely non-referential or political statement about the attitude of an invading force.
Yeah.
In somebody else's territory, this complete fucking asshat talking about the locals like they're subhuman is like, we've got the guns, we've got the mobile suits, we should just take what we want. And the commander's like, no, dude, we're in their fucking territory. Shut fuck up. We'll ask and see if we can get something.
And she knows he's a problem. She comes right out and says before they go anywhere near the village, you are on your best behavior. and he's not at all.
And he despite her orders and warnings, he basically pushes buttons and sees Kiki and yeah.
Well, here's the thing, like the Shiro and his boys know that there is trouble, and they're out there waiting to take out the patrol if there's any trouble. Except they don't want to pop these guys in the middle of the village in case
they hit the reactor.
Accidentally hit the reactor.
Yeah, they make a big point in this show that Gundams are still nuclear-powered weapons. So, if you hit the reactor, you're setting off a nuclear bomb in somebody's village.
Well, not necessarily setting it off, but there's a chance.
Yeah.
Like, you might just break containment, then you just have terrible amounts of radiation everywhere.
Yes.
Just don't hit the reactor, please.
Well, they've got beam snipers like 2 kilometers away. They're a little bit too far that they don't want to really engage. The guerrillas themselves have got RPGs trained on the fucking Gundams that they don't on the Zaku's that they can't see.
Yeah.
But the commander, the Baresto, he's like, no, don't turn the village into a fucking war zone.
We're only doing this if it's absolutely necessary.
Yep, so it's like, look, just grin and bear it. It's just a bit of humiliation. If they go too far, then whatever, but just
and then Asshat goes too far.
And then Asshat goes too far.
Yeah,
and then he scoops up Kiki, and he's like opens up the cockpit to make all lewd comments at her and whatnot, and like
one of Brest's men
has his commander like trying to dress him down and get him to put her down. And as soon as he puts her down, one of the guys jumps out with an RPG. He's like, "Fuck you!" right in the cockpit.
Yeah.
Yep.
Unfortunately, at that point, that means the commander, even though she knows they were probably completely in the right, has to retaliate.
Yeah, because they did just kill one of her men.
Yeah,
and it turns to shit real quick. The village largely gets leveled. Kiki's dad and half the guerrilla fighters end up dead. They do manage to put down both the remaining 2 Zaku's without slaughtering everyone or popping the reactors. But it's still a shit show.
It's high cost. Yeah, I mean, the Zaku's are covered in, like, not just their main weaponry, but they've even got, like, smaller, like, anti-personnel weaponry, like, just basically, like, shrapnel launchers that just shred people. And at this point, this is actually a point we've just had a bit with Shiro, who's, at this point, he's actually in the middle of a bit of an internal conflict about, whether the war is just... whether either side is more right than the other, whether he should continue to fight, can he pull the big question that keeps getting brought up in that episode is, can he pull the trigger against the enemy now? Because he's had a bit of a meeting with Aina again, realized that they're on opposite sides, and the brass are starting to suspect him of potentially being a double agent. And he's there with an RPG trained on this commander in her cockpit. He's like, the question is, can you pull the trigger? And all these other people are dying around him. He's like, for fuck's sake, fine. And it's a complete shit show.
Yep. And his answer is, I can't pull the trigger for the Federation. For my unit mates and for the people I care about, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But fuck the Federation because the brass sucks. Fuck Zeon because Zeon government sucks. Ina's cool. I'm sure this commander was probably not that bad a person, but
I will say that's one thing I did notice through the show. Ina never once takes a Federation life.
Yep.
At least on screen.
I mean, she comes close more than a few times, but you're right.
She fires warning shots for the most part.
Yep.
So
in any case,
they do a very good job of keeping her clean in all of this, shall we say?
In any case, that's pretty much where Kiki steps out of the series until the very last episode, because most of her friends and family are dead at this point, and she's in mourning. And
she's a very good character.
Yeah, I really like Kiki. She's a little spitfire. She's smarter than your average bear, which makes her 3 times as smart as anyone else in the show.
Kara's fairly bright.
Okay, fair enough.
And again, the CO is actually the CO is actually fairly bright also, as is shown by how he handles the end of this.
Yes.
Oh dear Lord, he pulls such a baller move.
Yeah, I really like Kiki.
Oh yeah, she's great. She's literally my second favorite character in the show.
Yep,
it's
really
close.
is.
And it's close.
It's really Karen and Kiki, honestly.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I also really enjoy Sanders just because
he's great.
I got a soft spot for like the big gruff guy, but
oh no, he's great too. Absolutely. I like most of the 8th MS team. Mickey's my least favorite. I don't hate him. He's just my least favorite.
Yeah.
The thing is, Mickey would be fine if it wasn't for that last fucking episode.
Where we get too much of him, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that last episode really did shit. As you said, Gav, That episode shows that for the rest of the series, they knew exactly how much to use Mickey.
Yes. Boy, it made me appreciate how sparingly they used him through the rest of the show. But yeah, the principal like story of this though, that's running all the way through, is that this is what I kind of mentioned earlier on about the super weapon, is that Ina, as I mentioned, is a test pilot, and she's testing a new Xeon weapon that Guineas, her brother, is building. And it's this huge fucking monstrosity death egg thing. Forget their name now.
It's a mobile armor of some sort.
Yeah, it's a mobile armor, basically. I think it's... I mean, I'm not au fait with the earlier stuff, but I think it might even be the first mobile armor. Unless there was one in Mobile Suit Gundam. Can't think of one. But yeah, basically they're building a super weapon, equipped with particle cannon and just basically serious amounts of death that would have won them the war.
Well, that's what what's his fuck is convinced of.
Yes.
Yes.
Rarely does a single super weapon win a war.
It turns out, actually, that is true, Eric. Yes.
You have 10 of them, though.
Yeah. Yes, if you can mass produce the super weapon, you get to win.
Yes, this is true.
Yeah, if your frontline troops are all riding super weapons, then yeah, deal.
Now,
I mean, that's sort of what happens with the Gundam from the first Gundam series.
Yes,
it's kind of a super weapon, and then the Federation starts to be able to build it en masse.
Yep.
And that's when Xeon sort of goes, well, fuck.
Well, that's the thing that's happening here. The mobile suits, the Empire, the Federation, sorry, are deploying are all they're not quite Gundams, but they're advanced GMs with Gundam features, basically.
Yeah, well, they basically take a lot of the tech that was used in the Gundam and move it into a mass-produced suit.
It's exactly. It's a GM plus essentially, and they're basically they at this point, because obviously when the Zaku was first developed, they only had GMs, and the Zaku is better than the GM. This now puts the technological side of it in the Federation's.
Yeah. It flips the script, honestly.
Yeah.
The
ground types, the GM ground types that we see here, they are superior to the Zaku.
Yep. Despite the fact that the Zaku is still one of the coolest looking mechs ever designed.
We're not talking about aesthetics, Eric.
I mean, I'm involved, so aesthetics are part of the issue. But yes.
No. Ignore me. I was reading the wrong fucking entry anyway. Yeah, there is a GM ground type. There's also the RX-79 ground type, which is a Gundam. Yeah, they are Gundams. They're not GMs. They're Gundams.
They're mass-produced Gundams.
Basically,
they've got the Gundam I thing going on. So
yeah. I was mixing up two different entries.
We see plenty of GMs also.
Oh yeah,
just not in the 8th. Just not as members of the actual 8th MS team.
The 8th MS
team
ends
up with a GM head eventually.
Yes, because she gets the head of her RX blown off.
Yep.
Yeah, she gets in a fight with a.
It gets uppercutted.
The Zagok.
Yep. The Zagok
she is blindsided by one. After a very harrowing, I've never actually done a drop before from, so I'm super hyper focused on making sure I don't die dropping. Okay, I've landed. I'm on the edge of a lake, and what the fuck?
Oh, it wasn't a Zagok. It was an AC guy. Of course it was. It's the one they turned into the bear guy.
Okay.
Sorry, that's me being a Gundam nerd.
That's fair.
It wasn't a Hygok, which is the cool one that I like.
No,
so
it's the one with the stump arm with the machine gun in the arm. It's the AC guy. Yeah.
Okay. Nerd.
I
So yeah, So they've over the course of the show they've had a few confrontations with the Aspelis and Ina at the controls. They stumble across it once and go, "What the fuck is that?" and try to break it down, and it gets away. And then they spend a while in the desert sort of trying to trap it, and it goes very badly for both sides.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which results eventually with it crashing in a glacier, with Shiro riding on the top of it because he was basically riding the damn thing like the friggin' Bob and Dr. Strangelove.
Well, he kind of got squished into a canyon wall and was kind of glued to it at that point.
Which ends up with a good chunk of an episode of Ina and Shiro like doing the whole working together for survival, and this time getting along much better and deepening their feelings for one another and whatnot.
And they build a fucking hot spring because why not?
They build a hot spring with the friggin' beam saber because, well, that's a good way to use a beam saber. So
well, no, to be fair, yes, it is tradition to have the hot spring episode, and yes, they do get naked and have a little moment. But the reason they do it is because Shiro's hands are frostbitten and they need to warm him up in hot water. They do give the reason for it. Then they go, well, sure be a waste of this hot spring if we didn't get naked.
Yeah, it's like, okay, how do we make hot water? I've got a lighter. That's not going to work. Okay, promise don't tell anyone. Okay. I've got a beam saber on my Gundam. Oh, what?
Yeah, because at this point, beam sabers are experimental weapons.
Should you be showing me this? Do I have a choice? I have no hands.
See, no, but I'd rather not freeze to death. Fair point.
These two are not the greatest when it comes to military secrets.
No. She talk like in casual conversation. She talks about like her super weapons capabilities, and he's like, "Oh, that's kind of cool. I've got a beam saber. Oh, that's really cool. I didn't know you could do that. Yup, it's experimental. You want to see?"
OPSEC must hate both of them.
Oh, that's much more compact than the mega particle cannon I have on my thing. It's a what now? A mega particle cannon. Would you like to see?
This thing can level mountains. Oh yeah, I actually saw that. We saw that earlier. So that's what you're shooting at us earlier. Yep. I was firing warning shots. Dear God, what the hell?
Oh.
Yeah,
they are terrible with military security.
To be fair, I get the impression that both of them think both of them are convinced the war is fucking stupid.
Yeah. Oh yes.
Oh yeah.
And are utterly convinced that keeping secrets like this is probably just going to make things last longer. Fuck it, I don't care.
It's clear that the only reason either of them are fighting is because of individuals that they care about on the other side.
Absolutely.
Really couldn't give the least of fucks about anything else.
Yes. Literally, Ina's fighting because her brother...
She cares about her brother and the workers on the project.
And her brother's the officer that works for her brother, his name is escaping me. No, it's not... Oh, God, what's his name?
Begins with an N. Yeah. I don't have the wiki open because I'm dumb.
Norris.
Norris,
that's it, yes.
Norris Packard, yeah. Norris, who's sort of been a father figure to her, so she gives a shit about him, she gives a shit about her brother, and she cares about, like, the actual, like, workers and such.
Yeah.
I know, she has no issues with most of the soldiers. Like, yeah, no, they should be, they are decent people, most of them are decent people who deserve better than what they're getting. This war is fucking stupid.
This does lead into the Feddies figuring out where the base is, and going to take the base.
While Killarney is basically going, we've got to get I am done with this bullshit. This place is stupid. This is stupid. We should get back into space and get back to the actual part of the war that matters. Why are we fighting over this stupid piece of
Why
shit?
are we fighting on Earth? The whole point was to win independence from the Federation. We don't need to be here.
See, Ina had to self-destruct the Aspelis because it was it was compromised. Well, your project's done, dude. We're going back to space. That's the only reason we're here is to safeguard your project, and it's over.
Yep.
Fuck you, it's not over.
And now you and your people are dead because I didn't like you anyway.
I'm working on the project. I'm going to continue working on the project anyway, and make my scientists and workers do drugs to be able to continue. I mean, they will totally they will totally have the option to take these drugs on their own free will.
Yep. And it's in no way, a reference to the cocktail of chemicals that soldiers were given to counteract nerve agents and chemical warfare and all that kind of stuff, and has left lasting damage.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
Mm.
This show was not political, Gav.
No, never. Any and all coincidence can be purely ignored. That's
totally
absolutely fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, the one thing about this show is it doesn't really. I mean, it's called the 1 Year War, and I've got a feeling it's meant to expand the whole of it because they don't really give you a time scale as to how long it's been since they're there. But it's clear that there are 3 different versions and variants of the Aspelis that show up. There's the initial type that we first see. The second type is basically the first type upgraded with the working particle cannon, which is the one they're testing. And that one's then destroyed. And we get the finale at the end with the Apsilus Mark III.
Right.
Which is this dual-hulled monstrosity. It's basically 2 Apsilus glued together. So the time scale they've managed to build 3 of these bastard things.
And it could well be that they had literally like 3 different prototypes.
They could have done, but I have a feeling they tried to.
I get the impression this takes place over the course of about a year. Yes.
Yeah, the whole of the 1 Year War, basically. Yeah. But yeah, Guineas basically goes into business for himself and straight up murks Kalern and his men. Like,
yep.
The whole thing is like Kalern's entire unit gets back into the base when they're retreating and falling back to get sorted out, and his commanders, or like one squad, decide to go out in these little tanks to try and hold off the Federation forces that happen to be the 8th unit.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, well, fine, okay, if you insist." But then Kalern, being the commander that he is and showing that he's one of the few decent ones, is like, "Well, I can't go into the base and get myself safe while I know there are men outside." And he's waiting the entire time for them to come back. And the ones that do come back is like, "Cool, okay, you made it." And it's like, "Now let's get off this fucking planet." At which point, Gilneas shuts the door and fucking barbecues them.
Yep.
Because he's an asshole.
Yeah. By the way, his voice actor is Dio Brando.
Yes.
Right down to him poisoning his research staff's drinks once the Apsilus is
like,
finished.
Literally, this is Dio Brando,
this is
the
Dio
Xeon
Brando.
scientist.
But the best thing is, like, he's doing this whole toast to his crew that, like, "You've managed to complete my vision. Thank you all," and holds a toast, and they're all like, "Yay!" and start drinking. And Peter makes the joke, and goes, now enjoy all this poison I've just given you. And like, it cuts away. 10 minutes later, it comes back. Everyone but he's dead, and he's pouring out the glass that he bought himself. And Peter's like, "I was joking."
I did not think he was going to go that. Well, actually, no.
You said that, and I had to bite my tongue.
I was half joking, to be honest, but I was like, it is something that he would do, but I don't think they would actually do. They actually did that, motherfucker. But no, he didn't kill them at that point. So no, they were still alive when he then threw a grenade into the room to blow them all up.
Yep.
Because he's a fuckwad.
Like I said, when we were doing the whole voice actor comparison, it's like, oh, he's the voice of Dio Brando or Rezzo. It's like, okay, wonder which one is like. No, it's Dio. It's Dio. Holy fuck, he's Dio.
Rezo was at one point a good guy. Way back in the past. Dio was always a fuckwad.
This guy is purified asshat.
Oh my god. Oh my god. So yeah, so but yeah, so they're closing in on the base, and Ina's worked up a plan to get, the wounded and the workers out on a slow flying transport. But they need to clear the path for it, so they've got troops outside and they're trying to clear a path out for it. And Norris basically says, "Yep, I'm gonna go secure the path for you, Ina, because the men deserve it, and I really respect the fact that you're doing this."
It's a bit of a Gundam trope. It's like you are the leader that I respect and are a leader worth fighting for.
Yep. And Ina's like, "You better come back alive," and he's like, "Yeah, about that."
He's like, "Yes, of course I will.
I'll try. I will absolutely try to do so." But
this also ends up being one of the best battles I've seen in Gundam.
It is a fucking brilliant fight.
Widely regarded as one of the best, if not the best, mobile suit fight in Gundam.
It is tactical.
If not the wider.
The tactics all make sense. It is beautifully animated. It is beautifully choreographed. Like
there's a lot of emotion behind it also, because there's a bit where Shiro's Gundam shuts down and he's freaking out. He's like, "Why won't you just fucking finish me?" And Norris just being like, "This is great. This is so much fun. Oh, I'm gonna die here. I better send up a flare."
Yeah. And Norris is not killing him because he's using him to buy time so he can maybe get a shot at the last artillery tank that might be a threat to the transport.
But that's the thing, yeah. So the 8th team are the ones that have to face him because they're in this small, bombed out city with 3 gun tanks, which are the tracked mobile suits with huge fucking artillery cannons on the back.
Yep.
Intending to shell the base and anything that tries to leave. So they're prime targets for to be taken out. And
they've been clowning every Xeon unit that's come out to try to deal with them up until now.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And Norris comes out in his goof and is like, "Yeah, no, you've not been facing our real people.
You've been facing the guys that have not. You've been facing the guys that weren't on the front line for the past 6 months and are veterans." You've been facing the green guy. You've been facing a bunch of green recruits.
Well, this is the thing. Sanders has one little engagement with him. Not even a direct engagement, just a couple of he fires a couple of shots and realizes how he's dodging them. He's like, "Oh shit, this guy's an ace."
Yeah. He's like, we are in trouble.
Yeah.
It's not just that he's a veteran. He's an ace. He's literally one of the best Gundam pilots out there. It's like one of the best mobile suit pilots out there. It's like, we are in trouble.
But yeah, the bit that Eric mentioned about Shiro being Norris uses a stun gun basically to overload the systems of Shiro's Gundam, and he's trapped in the cockpit. It's all dark, and he has this great little moment where it's in the cockpit with him, and everything's quiet. There's not even any stomping or noises from outside other than the occasional gunshot that you can hear. And it's like holding your breath, waiting for that blade to come through the cockpit and finish him off. Because that's one thing they've always done in this show. Cockpit shots are important because that's a fatal.
Yep.
And it never comes. And he's just waiting for it, and it never comes. He's like, "Oh God, will you just finish me off?" And we find out when it comes back outside, Norris has actually stood behind his Gundam, saying, "What are you gonna do? Shoot your friend?"
Yeah, pilot's still alive. He's holding the Gundam by the head in front of him as a shield.
Because Norris is really knows what the fuck he's doing.
Yeah.
And this is the clever part about that. Everything that he's doing, it's like he's not directly engaging the Gundams.
No, his job is to take out the gun tanks so they cannot shoot down the transport.
Yep.
So he's getting around them, over them, under them, any way he can at the gun tanks. Like when they're looking for him in one direction, he's there with his blade over the top of a gun tank, just driving down through the cockpit. And there's one right at the end. There's one gun tank left, and Shiro has that that pro-tag moment where he wakes up, gets the Gundam back up, rips off the useless arm that's on his mech, and starts beating the hell out of Norris with his own stump.
Now, I will say the big thing is Shiro gives Norris the best fight of the group because he is the best. He is the best pilot there. Norris actually respects Shiro's talent.
Well, here's the thing: he's not landing anything on Norris. He's parrying everything until Shiro shouts over his loudspeakers, like, "And I'll run with Ina!" And Norris is like, "Wait a minute, why Ina? Whack! Oh, that's you. All right."
but even before that, Norris actually is like, "Okay, this kid's not bad. He doesn't have the experience yet, but he's got potential."
Mm.
And then well.
Remembers, and then Shiro thankfully remembers he doesn't need the stump arm because he's got a beam saber.
Yeah. And they have that final very sort of classic samurai clash. They charge at each other. Shiro makes the samurai cut where he cuts the guy in half. He's like, I win. And Thor's like, nope, I won. And Shiro starts and realizes, oh fuck, he shot the gun tank.
Yep.
Yeah, the goofs are all armed with like machine guns on the back of its fists, so it looks like he's going to punch Shiro, but he's not. He's punched over his shoulder and fired shots that killed the gun tank. And it's literally one of those moments where, yes, I'm dead, but you lose.
Yes.
Oh, it's so good.
Oh. From that point, it's like, oh well, fuck. Oh, we haven't got time to worry about that because here's the fucking Apsalus.
Yeah.
Because Guineas has decided he's going to launch that thing. Ina's in the cockpit with him, but he's now like backseating basically.
And Ina's basically, I'm going to pilot this thing. I'm going to basically use it as a point to say, okay, look, you fuckers, I will demonstrate that I can blow you all the fuck up. And I won't if you let the transport go.
Yeah, she bursts out of the base and like there's energy beams and reflected beam weaponry hitting everything. Everything's going boom. It's a complete mess. And all the dust settles and it's a case of, right, I didn't hit anyone. No one's dead. Feddies are checking. It's like, oh shit, she's right. Those were warning shots. Yeah. We have a civilian and a medevac ship about to leave. That's all we want. Let them go, and no one has to get hurt. And the Fedi commanders prove how much of a fucking asshole they are by saying, we can't negotiate with terrorists. And like they normally do.
And Ina basically opens the cockpit and steps out and says, look, I'm going to make this very clear. She actually gets her point across, and the Fed commander's like, well, the situation, I can't shoot. At which point Gileas actually, basically opens fire for her because, he's an asshole.
Yep.
And the Fed commander's like, oh, look, it opened. She broke her word and opened fire. Okay, shoot down the transport. Oh, look, there are things falling out that are still alive. Shoot them too. And Gileas is like, see, they're terrible. They were going to say. I was like, no, this is on you, asshole.
This is on you. This is all you.
No.
I bought them the time they needed, and you fucked it up.
She's like, I've had it with you, dude.
What is one thing I appreciate in this?
She also is like, what happened? So where are the where are all the scientists? Oh, they're probably off getting drunk. Uh-huh. Fuck, my brother's a psychopath.
Like I said, that is one thing I do appreciate this because it's one of those anime tropes where if the good-hearted person that tries to do everything by the book and be the better person, having the whole "this was all your fault" trope is one of those that like usually you get that that's that moment of self-doubt where they're like, really, is my good nature really what got those people killed? And I was like, no, fuck you, dude, this is you.
This is all on you.
No. Oh, one important note, which is not all that actually important, it won't come up at all in a second. Aina did get her watch back from Shiro during the whole glacier incident.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
It's not at all important. Nope, not at all, because it's not like her brother shoots her in the chest.
No, it's not Chekhov's watch.
Nope, not at all.
It's Ina's watch.
There wasn't a reason that watch kept coming up just to remind us it's there the whole fucking show.
Yeah. Yeah. Turns out it's the bullet hit the watch. Because I should have no, she's fucking dead. How the hell did she survive? And it's like, oh, the watch. They revealed the alarm of the watch goes off. Like, oh, fuckers. I should have seen that coming. God damn it.
We should have done.
God damn it. Oh. But yeah, so Shiro shows up. Shiro has basically said, all right, fuck the military. I'm gonna go stop Aina from doing possibly doing awful things. But I don't want this reflecting on the unit, so I quit.
Yeah.
Both Sanders and Karen had basically been given orders to keep an eye on him because they were worried about him being a double agent. And Karen was basically told, look, if he does something stupid, shoot him. And Karen's like, fuck, I don't want to shoot him, but I can't. So she.
I mean, technically, it's desertion as well. It's not just.
No, he's
deserting.
deserting.
Agent thing. He's deserting.
It's literally desertion in the face of the enemy.
Yes. No. It is the correct thing to do, but she does let him go.
I mean, she still fires off a burst. She just misses intentionally.
She totally missed by accident. It was an accidental miss. Totally. That totally.
Yep.
No.
And then the gun jammed, and she couldn't clear the jam before he was out of sight. Yep.
I mean, to be fair, they do go back to the command base to report and say he's done this, and the captain, Raya, is like, well, okay, your mission is clear. You're to hunt down your commander and execute him for desertion in the face of the enemy. And God bless Kojima. Because Kojima's like, no, guys, your orders are you're going to escort me to, I can't remember what he was going to do, but it's like to rally troops and organize something. But he's like, you're going to escort me. And Raya's like, excuse me, Colonel, is there a reason you're trying to countermand my orders? And Kojima's like, excuse me, Captain, did I hear you to issue the order to fire on a medevac transport?
It'd be a real shame if the recording of you ordering and committing a war crime got out, sir. Oh. I see. It's like, yeah, and by the way, you thought I was like, I'd be happy to be operating here at headquarters. I hate the air conditioning, as I've told you as many times. I'd be much happier back at camp. Bye! Well, fuck.
Yep.
That was so good.
That was a great moment.
That
was absolutely, yeah. This is the thing, no matter how in charge you are, you need two things. There's not a single fucking general. You can have 100 generals in an army if you like, but not one of them can win anything without boots on the ground.
Yep.
Or a support crew that actually fucking respects them and does what they say.
Yep. So yeah, Shiro and Aina basically team up to take down the Apsilus with Gilius at the controls. And our Colonel Captain Fuckwad for the Federation, has his sniper shoot Shiro's Gundam because
Well, Shiro's about to plunge his beam saber into the particle cannon and disable it and make it safe because they've already taken out the leg.
Yep.
Because for some reason the Apsilus is a fucking tripod.
So they've already, this version of it is. Yeah.
They've already grounded it, so that's fine. Now they're just going to take out the huge particle cannon that's the main threat. But no, the captain decides to order the snipers to take out Shiro, and they take off like half its side and its arm in a shot, which was a real shame because that meant the Guineas manages to get that shot off and destroys Federation HQ, including the captain.
Yep. Oops.
I mean, it's poetic justice, but dear God,
really
the
is.
dumbness.
Well, it's like you said. I couldn't understand it, and then you mentioned it's like, well, yeah, because he wanted to salvage the Absolus.
Yeah, he wanted to salvage the Absolus.
Of course he
That was his express intent. It's like, wait, no, Shearer's trying to destroy the thing. No, we can't have that. Ha ha! My petard, I've been hoisted by it. Oh, my petard. Oh, my hubris. No.
Oh, my hubris.
Oh, my God. So, yeah.
So Shiro manages to push the damn thing into the volcano and explode, using what's left of his mech.
Shiro and Ina together.
Well, he straight up fucking. He straight up like jams the fist of his Gundam into the cockpit of the Absolus.
He's like, "Fuck
Like,
you!"
You don't even get a scene of Guineas like regretting his death or anything like that. It's like, no, it's just from the outside, the Gundam just goes elbow deep into the fucking face of the Absolus. It's like, oh, okay.
No, it's game over, man.
Yeah.
There is no glorious death for that asshole.
No.
He's
No. None. And so the Shiro's Gundam and the remnants of Absolus fall into the volcano and are gone forever. Turns out, everyone's like, so the 8th MS team are all like, okay, is the commander dead? Is the boss dead? No, he can't be dead. Because that would really suck.
Yeah, that's literally the reasoning for it. It's like, we didn't recover a body. It went into a volcano.
I don't care.
And then exploded.
We don't care. We're going to operate under the optimistic assumption that there's some possible way he survived because honestly, it just makes us feel better to think he's alive still. Let's be real. I mean, and it turns out, yes, he did survive. He lost a leg. Ina has to carry him out of the cave they're in.
Yep.
But the two of them survived and go wander off into the wilderness to basically say, "Fuck all of you."
Yep.
Well, it's kind of weird the way the show comes to an end.
Yeah,
because
both. That episode 11 ends with the two of them walking off into the sunset. Basically, well,
yeah, the big climax and
Well,
that
hobbling
whole,
in the case of Shiro. He's clearly missing a leg.
that whole climax and everything is episode 11, and this is a 12-episode show.
yeah, and episode
Yeah.
12 is a coda.
Yeah, the coda is like it only references. I mean, the only two characters we see from previous, part of the series is Kiki and Mikkel.
Yep. Kiki and Mickey are basically looking for Shiro.
Yeah,
This is after the war's over.
Mikkel didn't get reassigned. I can't remember whether he said he dropped out or
he retired.
he retired.
Yeah.
Yes, he did say retired. Yes, and obviously
And he's
Kiki
developed a
didn't
drinking
retire.
habit because BB left him for some random guy.
Can we just talk about that for 1 second? Because fuck BB.
She Dear John'd him like in episode 5.
It's not even the
Yeah.
Dear John. It's like, look,
I know.
this dude. Like, it's like everything that happens to this dude, he's talking about writing to BB, or is writing to BB, or is reading a letter from her, or is like talking about his future and all his plans and everything else. And halfway through in episode 5, he gets a letter that's something on the lines of, "Hi, I've realized that I can't carry on living wondering whether your next letter is going to be your last one. So, for my own benefit, I'm going to stop talking to you, and I think I should live my life."
Yeah, she Dear John's him.
Yeah.
It's not even a, I'm sorry to do this, or
No.
it's like, no, I don't think this is best for me. I'm just going to cut it off with you right now, and I'll find something else.
I mean,
What?
I'll say this. At least you didn't string him along the whole fucking time.
Yes.
Like-
Yeah, but have a heart.
I mean, I respect the fact that she realized that this relationship was bad for her and that she had to get out of it. She could have handled it better, definitively. Like, there's no arguing that.
There's no fucking wonder that the kid developed a drinking habit.
Oh, well, he was neurotic
mean,
to begin with.
I've-
Let's be real.
Yeah, he was neurotic to
Yeah.
begin with, and honestly, I don't think he would have been good for we don't know anything about BB. We don't even really know what she looks like. But I can't imagine it would have been a good relationship given how neurotic and clingy he tends to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
And Kiki is traveling with him looking for Shiro and shows the patience of a goddamn saint.
Because
Oh,
Kiki's awesome.
the number of times I wanted to punch this kid in the face.
Oh my god. But yeah, they stumble across a group of kids from Zeon who are going to be soldiers, and totally were not engineered new types. Nope, not at all. That's
Yeah.
what they were.
Yeah.
And it's a long bit of them trying to figure out what's going on, and explaining like they're explaining who they're looking for and what's going on with you guys, etc., etc., etc. And they eventually find out that the kids basically are at all functional because they stumbled across Aina and Shiro, who taught them how to basically survive, and how to basically be people.
Yeah.
Because Zeon hadn't. Because the Zeon scientists who'd basically, engineered them and were growing them to be the next generation of super pilots, kind of forgot the whole how to be human thing. And it's...
Well, weapons don't need emotions.
No. Yeah. And the bit where everything's sort of figured out, and like they didn't even have names,
Yeah.
So Shiro and Aina basically named them after all of Shiro's unit mates, and Shiro and Aina. And there's this very sad bit, where the kids are all like, we can give you the names back, and like, and the leader of the unit's like, no, I refuse to give the name back. Shiro gave it to me. He's awesome. No, it was mine. This is my name. And Kiki's like, dude, that's not how that works. Even is how it works. We wouldn't take your names away. No.
Yeah. That's a terrible thing to do, and it's not how it works. It's yours now. It belongs to you. I couldn't take it if I wanted to.
Because I really like this last episode because it does give a lot of closure for Kiki, and it gets to show exactly how kind of awesome a person she's grown up to be.
Yeah. One other thing that I did appreciate, because I kind of expected it, but it never happened.
Yeah.
The whole bit at the beginning of the episode with Michael like getting over BB.
Yeah.
Or, well, not getting over her after the God knows how long.
Well, yeah.
I'm glad they didn't end up putting him together with Kiki just because of the same age.
Right. No, I approved of that. I did like Kiki basically. Okay, taking the photo of Aina after her marriage to the dude. And him stopping her. He's like, okay, look, dude, this is not healthy. Tears the photo up. It's like,
you see, that's the other thing as well. Think about it. That BB must have sent him a photo of her in her wedding dress.
I know.
Yeah.
That was a jerk move. No argument.
That was in fact a dick move. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh my god. Oh. That was the worst thing she did to him. Like definitively. Oh my god.
I can also just totally see like her thinking, I want to still be friends. This is my way of showing that I still want to be friends, and not getting the like how much of a
knife in the back that one is.
Yeah.
Actually, it's not a knife in the back. That's a knife in the face.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that you were upfront about the fact that you were screwing me over. Wait. You don't realize you're screwing me. Oh my god. But yeah, Kiki eventually, after they split, the kids sort of disappear in the middle of the night after this whole thing, and then Kiki and Mickey eventually stumble across the cabin that Aina and Shiro have built and are living in, and Aina's pregnant, and that's the
name of the show.
And I will say, I love the fact that Shiro and Aina are ecstatic to see the two of them.
Yeah, they're both very happy to see them.
It kind of pans out and sees them like that, and Mikhail just fucking collapses to his knees. He's like, "Oh my god, I found you! You're alive!" And he's an emotional little shit.
And you can see the Kiki sort of like she is ecstatic to have found Shiro, and is also a little bit heartbroken that he's with Aina.
Yeah,
I mean it's
there's no question there, but
this was it's possible that Aina might have passed away or something.
Yeah, It's unlikely, but it's not completely outside the realm.
They do kind of tease it for a moment, actually, because when we meet the young kids, one of them is gravely ill, covered in bandages, and has the same blue hair that Aina has. And I was wondering, are they going to do that?
And they mentioned that it's Aina.
And they actually call her by Aina, and then they reveal that they've all been given names by,
Yeah.
And it's the one that
Kiki's the first one that goes, yeah, that's clearly not Aina. She's way too young.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But, so it's actually really... Like, I really like how they handled Kiki's sort of reaction to it, because it's a case of, I'm happy my friend is still alive and that he's happy, but I'm a little sad that I don't get to be with him. Not that way, at least. But I get to be friends with him still. So...
Yeah, he's alive. That's a good thing.
I'm a bundle of mixed emotions right now. Most of them positive. But... Okay. She'd better be awesome. And, to be fair, Ina's pretty cool, so...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think she ends up being anyone's favorite character out of this show, but
no,
Shiro.
She's fine.
She's fine. Shiro's fine.
They are perfectly fine protagonists. It's just
they're
not great protagonists.
We're
not talking. We're not talking. Domon and what's her name from G Gundam.
Yeah.
Neither of them are. There's not nearly. Neither of them have enough sort of bombastic personality to really grab you. They're fine characters. Like they're not like they are not. There's not a lot of depth to either of them either. There's not like hidden layers to them. No, they're just good people and competent soldiers who are decent people and end up falling in love. Okay, sure. Like if this had been a longer series, they probably would have taken more time to develop the relationship.
Yep.
But it's a 12-episode series, so they don't have a lot of time to. I mean, I will say I have been watching a show that is able to develop a relationship. Shows that you can develop a relationship very well in less than 12 episodes.
Sure, but that has to be like the.
That is the point of the show, though.
Yeah, that's the sole focus of the show.
Right.
Like that is not the same thing as.
It is not.
Like.
This is a romance as a complete side thing to the actual story of the show.
Yeah.
This is not a show about Shiro and Ina's romance. This is about.
It's not a show about the romance. The romance is simply another aspect of the central themes of the show.
The show, right? Yeah. Exactly.
Well, it's Shiro's whole thing about
good people on both sides, and if it weren't for these fuckheads in the brass, we could be friends.
It's not about the pointlessness of war, and now war just gets in the way, and it's not political in any way, shape, or form.
No, not at all.
It's not like this war achieved absolutely nothing.
I mean, technically speaking, Zeon is technically still okay. Actually, they're back to the status quo after Zeon left the Federation.
Yeah. Basically, yes.
Yeah. I guess the only thing in the background maybe has Char killed what's his fuck it yet?
We don't know. Char doesn't show up at all.
Right. I know. I'm just saying, like, I don't know what the timeline's like, but at some point, there are actual things that do happen that just don't happen on screen on this show.
We do get a Zabi in this show, but only one and only for a moment. It's Giran.
Yeah. So yeah, that's 8th MS team.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very well animated. Also, just want to say that.
Not even just for its time, just in general.
Well, I mean, it's 95. It's sort of when they were really figuring out how to do like this sort of animation. Like,
yeah, it's really well done for especially for the time. Holy shit, the mechanical animation.
Oh my god!
Great.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
It's no Gunbuster, but Gunbuster is special.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I guess final thoughts. I mean,
sure.
Unless there's anything else we want to talk about before we get to final thoughts, like any other themes or anything that we want to. It's not the most complicated of shows.
No,
No,
it's
that's
not
the
terribly
thing.
complicated. It's not terribly subtle. It's not trying to be either.
No.
Mm.
No, it has its themes and it executes them well, as far as I can
Yeah,
say.
it completely lacks pretension.
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah. I guess final thoughts. I mean, maybe they'll spark some more discussion, or maybe not. Who knows? So, Gav, then me, then Eric. Since Eric is your recommendation, you get the final word.
Sounds good.
So yeah, I mean, as we've just said there, this is the thing. This is not a complicated show. But then again, I mean, just to draw that parallel again, neither really are any of the big, those big movies you'll see about like the Vietnam War.
Mhm.
They're not complicated stories. What's going on is self-explanatory, and the whys and everything else. It's more the impact on the characters within the story that is the important part. And if we were to go into every single emotional conflict these characters have, we'd A, not have time, and B, be doing it a disservice.
Yeah.
So yeah, we can tell you the how and the what, the what happens, but going through it and seeing, the responses and the attitudes the characters have. There's a whole bit that we've not mentioned where Elidor and Mikkel get captured by Zeon, and Mikkel's entire reason for being there and reason for not wanting to be there, and he goes fully into that, and him and Mikkel have this whole standoff with each other about, I'm not here for a good time either kind of bullshit, They go much further into that kind of stuff. Even the little reactions between Elidor and Karen reveal a lot just in the way they talk to each other, not just what they say and how they, how it's done. But yeah, it's one of those shows that's got a lot of hidden depth. But like I said, we're not going to be able to go through every single bit. We wouldn't want to, because then that removes the point of you going and watching this show. Like I said, it's a very grounded variant of the Gundam series, but it is widely regarded as one of the better ones. That fight at the end, as I mentioned, is also regarded as one of the best mobile suit fights, not just in Gundam, in general.
It's one of the best robot fights I've seen.
Mm-hmm. And like I say, it's one of those definitely have a look at it. It's a short show, so it goes by pretty quickly. Yeah, I would recommend, and I'll let these two go into the details and the meat, shall we say?
I really like the show overall. It's a Gundam show, so it's mostly, wow, the people in charge suck, war sucks, the soldiers really are only fighting to help, fighting to the good soldiers are the ones who are basically fighting to protect their unit mates and their friends and their family, and that's what matters. And it's a classic war story. I mean, let's be real. I overall liked it. I like most of the characters in the show. I kind of wish that there was more nuance to Shiro than there was. He's fine, as I said. He's a fine protagonist, but the protagonist in a story like this kind of needs a little more depth, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's a bit too shonen in a
in what should be a seinen series, really. I mean,
yeah, for this kind of series, yeah.
This really needed a touch more. Shiro as a character needed to be more well-rounded, I think, is what it boils down to. Needed another layer or two. He's very surface level.
Yeah.
Which is not bad. Again, he's not bad. There's nothing. It's just it's he left me going, wow, I really wish there was more to him than that.
Yeah, I mean, part of that I think is just part of driving home that he is exactly what he says on the tin.
Sure.
So,
and there are people like that, and that's fine.
Yeah.
It's just, I think it would have helped the story if there had been a little more nuance to him.
Sure, if we had gotten to know him better, honestly.
Honestly, that's a large part of it. Is I think because it's a 12-episode show and there's other stuff they wanted to get into, we really couldn't dive as deep into who Shiro is as we could. I think they still could have done a bit more with him, but yeah. But I had fun with the show. I thought, again, as I said, the animation looked great. The environmental design looked fantastic. The scenery was great. It's
yeah.
they did a really good job at getting across exactly sort of the oppressive heat and just how much the environment sucked to fight war in.
Just briefly, one of the things I really appreciated was Shiro's from a colony. Like
Yep.
he's from space. He like the first time he ends up like lost in the jungle, he is miserable and doesn't know what anything is and is complaining the whole time, and it's hilarious.
Oh yeah. Oh, and also he's used to fighting in space, so his first Gundam fight in gravity on the ground on Earth, he gets schooled. Despite that he's actually a really good pilot. He's like, I'm just not used to fighting in gravity. God damn it. But yeah, I liked a lot of characters. I think most of the characters are very simple. They're not like there's not a super amount of depth to anybody because again they've got other themes to work on rather than be a character study. So I get that, but I
would say. Sorry to interrupt.
Sure.
Like I've said, with a lot of these characters, especially with, like I said, with Elidor and Karen, especially, and even a little bit with Sanders, I think there is a little bit of depth in there, but it's the usual. It's the same sort of thing. It's like they are people, they are characters, but they're at war, so they don't want to get to know everyone around them. They don't want to become close and share life stories and all that kind of stuff. So they do. There's kind of like I get a sense of them being very guarded, even though they're friends.
Yeah, I mean, again, one of the themes in general of this sort of thing is that knowing the people you're fighting alongside is actually really fucking important. And like the bonds that form between soldiers is actually what allows them to do what they do.
It is, but like for example, there's one line that. And I don't even think anyone else in the show hears. And it's Karen.
Yeah, Karen's line about how she lost her husband and yet another. Yeah. It's after Shiro walks out on them.
Yep.
And it's yet another guy who's walking out, like who's left her behind, and she's never going to see again.
And that's it. They don't mention a husband or.
They mentioned that before. They did mention her husband died in the line of duty.
Oh, I must have missed that.
Yeah, that was like an episode 2 or 3.
Fair enough.
Yeah, Karen and Elidor are definitively the two most developed characters in the show.
Yeah.
Yep, they're the most nuanced characters in the show, I should say. With Kiki sort of right behind them, along with Sanders, and then everybody else is sort of they exist. They have some depth. They're not like they're not no one's a puddle in this show. Except maybe like what's his fuck the captain who gets Captain Warcrime. He's kind of not really a character. But but they don't have a lot of time to develop a lot of the characters because again if you want to dive into to sort of making a sizable cast more nuanced, you can't have as many Gundam fights as they do have. And that's and that's fine. That is totally reasonable, and it doesn't hurt the story or the narrative or the themes at all. I'm just talking about what I would like to have seen out of a story like this personally.
I'll say if you'd have given this either a full 24 episode or even given it the full Iron Blooded Orphans treatment of a 2-season.
Yeah, I mean, show. Honestly, they literally you can get more. They could have gotten more depth out of it, even with the time constraints they had.
Mm-hmm.
But there are bits they would have to probably cut, but maybe not. There's a lot of economy in storytelling and script writing that you can do that not everyone is good at doing, and depends on and. I'm not saying that they did a bad job at all. I'm just saying there's stuff I would like to have seen that they didn't do, and that's that it is what it is. So don't go into it expecting super deep, well-rounded, nuanced characters that you're going to remember forever, because you're not going to get those. You're going to get good characters whom you will enjoy traveling with, you'll enjoy going through the story with, and you'll get to experience the themes of. It's a good show. It's not like an all-time great sort of, oh my god, this story is amazing. This is a very good show with which is executed very well, and it's a good war story, not a great one. Is my point, I think. Which
I I already used up all my good shit. Sorry.
Now, this is not, again, I'm not, there, I will say this also, I'm not a big fan of war stories in general. Like, this is not my genre. And this is one, it's a good war story. There are great war stories I don't like. I liked this show. So they did something right. They did a lot right. So, I just, there are little things I think that would have made it better is sort of what I'm talking about. Not like, critical flaws of the show. 8th MS team is bad because it doesn't dive into this thing as deep as I wanted it to. No, it's I would have liked it more than I already like it. It's a minor critique. Because I basically had the bits I'm criticizing are nitpicks, and I freely acknowledge this. It's a good show. I think that's basically about all I got to say. It's a good show. Like, watch it, seriously. Just don't expect it to be... I'm just saying, don't get your expectations up too high. And it may exceed your expectations. Like, it may be better than I'm making it out to be. It's a matter of personal preference. And I freely admit that. But that's basically all I got to say on it. So, Eric.
So, I like this show. This is up there for my Gundam series.
Sure.
Again, it's really grounded. The character as well, not especially complex, are all pretty well developed and do in fact have their nuances.
Oh, they do. It's not as many as I'd like.
Just sure. I mean, it's not Steins Gate, man. But like the animation is great, especially for the time.
Yep.
It's Sunrise like throwing their weight behind it, the same way they did with like the same way they do with fucking Gundam in general. Honestly, if they're doing a Gundam series, they're throwing their weight into it, and it shows. It's a nice digestible 12 episodes as opposed to some like 60 episode monolith or God help us 100 something. And manages to deal with its various themes, like what's the phrase I'm looking for?
Not sure.
Well within the time frame in succinctly. No, that's not the word. Whatever it does, it handles it well and within the time frame. Yeah, the my brain is completely fell out of my ear. I'm sorry. No, I really enjoyed this show. It's like it doesn't have any of my favorite Gundam characters in it, but it's got a lot of. But the cast is my favorite. Like, there's no one that
I can see that.
like,
yeah,
even Mikhail's like whiny giddishness doesn't even really come to the fore until the last episode.
Right.
And they use him exactly the right amount. He's an excellent foil to Elidor, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
Like him and Elidor are usually in the scene together, and they play off each other extremely well.
Yes, I would agree with that. Yeah, it looks like at first he's gonna be Shiro's foil, but then he's not, and then that's a good thing.
Yeah,
because that would not have worked as well.
That would not have worked as well. And yeah, no, this is and I have warm fuzzies of this one from like finding out on some pirate site 20 years ago and going, wow, this is really cool. Oh, that's where this fucking fight's from. It also has probably my favorite design of a goof in it. Like,
yeah,
just the Falchion, the shield, and with the chain, and the Falchion with the shield with the chain gun jammed onto the end of the shield.
Yeah,
that's just amazing. And that's a little thing, but it counts.
Yeah, the goof custom is it's one of the iconic looks.
Yeah. And yeah, I recommend it. Like, this isn't Unicorn or War in the Pocket, but I wanted something. I didn't want to cry my eyes out with War in the Pocket, and I didn't want to make Peter's head explode with a bunch of lore that he doesn't know or understand because he didn't watch the original Gundam with Unicorn. So,
Fair enough.
basically, like, we didn't do Unicorn because I didn't want to spend, like, pause the video every 5 minutes to explain, and this is what's happening here, Peter. I love Unicorn, but you need a you need a degree
little
in
bit.
entomology.
You can scrape by without the knowledge, but the knowledge helps.
Yeah. It's also a show that is explicitly like a cap into Universal Century and expects you to know that stuff. So, but we're not talking about Unicorn. We're talking about 8th MS team.
No.
Which, again, one of the things I really like about 8th MS team is it's entirely self-contained.
Yeah.
Which makes it wonderfully accessible.
Yep, I agree.
And yeah, I really like the cast. None of them are my favorite Gundam characters, but the cast as a whole is one of my favorites.
Sure.
And yeah, I had fun. I enjoyed it. Even, and here's the thing: well, the characters are not especially complex. There's a lot of complexity in their relationships.
Sure.
Like Eldor and Karen, Michael and Sanders.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of unspoken stuff between Mikhail and Sanders, where like Sanders is basically helping him pull his head out of his ass a lot of the time. And just and on Xian's side, the Ina's nice but kind of bland, but her brother and the Admiral are great playing off of each other, and they do a great job of starting out. You are sympathetic to the brother, and then later on, as you get to know him, you start to realize how much of a fucking monster he is.
Yep.
And then you start seeing more of the Admiral as like, oh, he's a really nice guy. He just recognized the brother for exactly what he was and wanted to fuck with him.
He's mostly a good guy. I will agree with that.
I mean, he's still Xion Brass, and no member of the Brass is ever like an entirely nice person or good or even decent person in Gundam.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we've done Origin. We've seen Char, who is completely justified in most of the things that he does, but he's still a complete
some of the
asshat.
things he does.
Well, yeah.
The whole murder the innocent man and take his place thing, I don't think it's terribly justified.
Well, he didn't murder him. He just took advantage of a situation.
He set him up to die, Gav.
Along with a whole bunch of other people on his ship.
Yeah.
Char's a bad man. He's charismatic and goddamn is a lot of fun to watch, but he's a bad man.
Don't be ridiculous, Duwani. They're not Nazis entirely. They're also the Soviet Union.
They're also Soviets. Yeah.
The leader is totally not Hitler. He's Stalin. Totally different.
His son's Hitler.
A little bit of Kaiser Wilhelm in there too.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Down to, Char's, protector and God, what's his name? Remba Rawl's dad being basically Trotsky and getting murdered in fucking Mexico.
Yes.
I mean, it wasn't an ice pick, but it was a sword. Oh my god.
I think the only people in the entire Xion that could be even like remotely moved to nice would probably be Raal and maybe Dozel.
He's a monster, but he's got something of a heart.
Yeah, he's too dense to be nasty, if you know what I mean.
He's not. But he is still a monster. Is the thing.
He's still a monster.
The sleeves, who technically aren't Xion, they're Neo Xion, but the sleeves in Unicorn are all stand-up folks.
I will take your word for that. But yeah, yeah.
Oh dear.
Also, Char Ansible did nothing wrong. He got blown up.
He did something very wrong. He got on the wrong spaceship.
That's poor bastard. It's possible, Tachi. We'll see. But that's gonna do it for this episode, folks.
Yep. Go watch 8th MS.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. This is a resounding
going on a tangent on a dozen other Gundam series. This is one of my favorites.
This is a resounding 3 thumbs up from us, guys.
Yeah, the reason we're segueing isn't because there's not a lot to talk about. I think this is going to be a relatively short episode too. It's not because there's nothing to talk about here. There's a lot. It's just that it's such a simple story that it pays to go and see it for yourself.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's one of the most accessible Gundam series out there, and it's not a huge time investment. Go check it out.
Yep.
Do it now. I commend you.
So Gav's at the next selection. Have you decided yet, or are you going to have to wait till Saturday?
Yeah, we're going to do Gundam Unicorn. No.
Okay.
No, I haven't decided
Okay,
yet.
so we'll find out on Saturday what you've decided on. That's fine.
Yeah.
That's going to do it for this week, folks. Thank you so much for watching. We hope you had fun. And we'll be back next week. Well, actually, not next week. We'll be back at some point, depending on what Gav chooses. There was.
I mean, I could break the seal, and we'll be back sometime in 2022. So
The thing you're thinking about will take us a while. We'll probably have to do a special episode at some point just to, keep our hand in.
I'm not sure. There are things. There are many different things I could pick. So we'll see.
Okay, that's fine. Anyways, that's gonna do it, guys. Thank you for watching. Oh, was that Eric?
I was just gonna say, and Gav chose One Piece, and we're never seen again.
Well,
no,
One Piece never ends.
If you want to pick something that's that long and ongoing, if you can break into a season or a digestible arc that is not too long, I will accept that. Otherwise, I'll use host veto to say no, fuck you. And you cannot choose One Piece, the series, because no, fuck you.
The entirety of it.
Just the same way that I will not choose the original Legend of Galactic Heroes. That actually has an endpoint, but it's still 100 fucking episodes. At some point, we'll do the second season of Dino Etese, because it's out, and I haven't watched it yet, and I want to. But we'll get to that at some point. Because space opera, goddammit.
Yeah. That's totally not up our alley.
Yeah. Anyways, that's going to do it for now, guys. Thank you for watching it. We'll see you guys next time. Take care, everybody. Have a great night.
Bye.
Bye.